Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we're going underground.
Oh, spelunking.
Kind of, yeah, but not exactly. We're headed into, well, the depths of the Dinaric Alps, actually, to meet a pretty bizarre creature.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What kind of creature are we talking about?
The karst Dinaric cave salamander. Ever heard of it?
Hmm. The name rings a bell, but I can't place it. Refresh my memory.
Yeah, sure. It's also known as the Olm, or, get this, the human fish.
Human fish. Okay, now I'm really curious.
Yeah, it's a pretty creepy nickname, but honestly, there's a reason for it. Just wait till you hear about this thing's appearance.
I'm all ears.
But nicknames aside, this creature is, well, it's a testament to survival. Like, it has adapted to this world without sunlight in ways that are just incredible. So ready to explore.
Absolutely. I always love seeing how life, even in like the most extreme places, finds a way.
Right, and this is like peak extreme. We're talking about the only exclusively cave-dwelling amphibian in all of Europe.
Wow. Okay, now that's a fascinating fact.
Yeah, and one of the few vertebrates to just fully embrace living underground.
Okay, so no sunlight, no problem for this salamander.
Exactly. Millions of years of evolution have shaped this creature to thrive in the dark.
And speaking of the dark, where exactly are we talking about here? What does this salamander's world look like?
Okay, picture this. Limestone caves. Tons of them, connected by like underground rivers and pools.
Okay, sounds pretty otherworldly already.
Right. This is the Dinaric karst. Runs through, a few countries, actually. Slovenia, Croatia.
Oh, wow. So like a whole network of caves spanning international borders.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Bosnia and Herzegovina, too, and even dips into parts of Montenegro.
Wow. Okay, so this is a pretty significant and unique habitat then.
Definitely. And the landscape itself, like the caves, the rivers, the pools, have really shaped how the Olm evolved. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, the environment really does shape life.
For sure. So let's get to the main attraction, I guess, the Olm's appearance.
Okay, bring on the human fish.
Well, yeah, I've heard it described as like ghostly
Yeah?
and even otherworldly. So yeah, prepare yourself.
Okay, hit me with it. What makes this salamander so strange looking?
It's got this elongated body, like almost eel-like, can grow up to 30 centimeters long.
Okay, so pretty sizable for a salamander.
But the skin, that's what's really striking.
Okay, what about it?
It's translucent. You can actually see its blood vessels.
Oh, wow. That's pretty creepy.
And no pigmentation, none. It's just like pale, almost white.
Okay, so that explains the human fish nickname, but I guess when you live in total darkness, who needs pigmentation?
Right. No need for camouflage down there or protection from the sun.
It's like evolution stripped away everything that wasn't absolutely crucial for surviving in a cave.
Exactly. Which makes you wonder about, sight. Can the Olm even see in the pitch black?
Good point.
Yeah.
What use are eyes in a cave anyway?
Well, the Olm's case, no use at all.
Oh, they're blind.
Completely. The eyes are, like, covered by skin.
Mm-hmm.
Over generations, they've become non-functional.
Wow. Okay, so no sight, but that has to mean they've developed other ways to navigate and find food.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where things get, like, really fascinating. We're talking super senses.
Okay, I'm all ears. Or, I guess, all other senses.
They have an incredible sense of smell, and they're super sensitive to vibrations in the water.
Makes sense. So they can feel their way around and sniff out prey.
But here's the kicker. They also have electroreception.
Wait, hold on. Electroreception? Like sharks?
Exactly. They can sense the electrical fields produced by other organisms.
Wow. Okay, so imagine like hunting in total darkness, guided only by the electrical signals of your prey. That's incredible.
Right. It's hard to even imagine what that sensory experience would be like.
Yeah, truly remarkable. This Olm is sounding more and more like a creature straight out of science fiction.
It really is. But it makes you wonder, like, how do they even get enough to eat down there? It's going to be tough finding food in a cave, right?
Yeah, good point. Resources are definitely limited.
So what's on the menu for the human fish?
Well, they're carnivores. Mostly they eat small invertebrates like insects that fall into the water, crustaceans, sometimes worms.
Okay, so scavengers, in a way.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. But here's another thing. They don't have chewing teeth.
Really? How do they eat then?
They swallow their prey whole. Just gulp it down.
Wow. That's efficient, I guess.
Definitely efficient. And, they're incredibly good at conserving energy.
Okay, so how efficient are we talking?
Like, they can survive for years without food.
Years? Come on, that's got to be an exaggeration.
Nope. It's true. When food is scarce, they enter a state of, well, it's called metabolic dormancy. Basically, their metabolism just slows way down to conserve energy.
So they just, like, wait it out.
Exactly.
So,
Pretty incredible.
yeah, that's some serious survival mode.
And it probably helps them live a really long time, too.
So how long are we talking here?
Well, the Olm is one of the longest living amphibians, like, on the planet.
Okay, so longer than your average frog, then.
Oh, way longer. Their lifespan could be over a century.
A century? Whoa.
Yeah. Slow growth, infrequent feeding, plus that whole energy conservation thing. It all adds up.
Okay, so the Olm is like the master of slow living, then.
Yeah,
Perfectly adapted to life in the slow lane.
exactly. It's like everything about this creature, from its appearance to its energy use, is perfectly tuned to that unique rhythm of life in a cave.
It's really amazing. I mean, we've already learned so much about this creature, its looks, its senses, how it survives. But I'm curious about its role in, well, the bigger picture, like in the cave ecosystem.
Good question. Because it's not just passively existing in the dark.
Right. So what's its role?
It's actually a vital part of that ecosystem. It's both a predator and prey.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just like hiding in the corner.
Nope. It's actively involved in the whole, the web of life down there.
Okay, so how does it work as a predator?
Well, remember what it eats? All those invertebrates.
Sure.
By keeping their populations in check, the Olm helps stabilize the whole ecosystem.
So it's like a tiny, blind, super-powered regulator. Never would have thought of a salamander like that.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it also serves as prey itself.
What could possibly eat the human fish?
The adults, not much. They're pretty safe in the caves,
Makes sense.
but their eggs and larvae, those are vulnerable.
To what?
Some cave-dwelling beetles, certain crustaceans, things like that.
Ah, so it all comes full circle. Even in the depths of a cave, you have that whole predator-prey dynamic.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance.
It really highlights how everything's connected, even in these seemingly isolated places.
Right. And the Olm, well, it's more connected than you might think.
What do you mean?
It's not just about eating bugs and avoiding beetles. The Olm is also a really valuable indicator of the health of the whole groundwater system.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's sensitive to changes in water quality, like super sensitive.
Okay, so how does that work?
Their skin's permeable, and they need clean water to survive.
Right.
So if the water gets polluted, they're the first to suffer.
And that's why they're such a good indicator.
Exactly. They're like an early warning system. If the Olm population starts declining, it means something's wrong with the water.
That's pretty important then.
Huge implications, actually, because, that groundwater in those caves, it's connected to the water sources people use, too.
So the health of the Olm, it affects the health of the environment and even the water we drink.
It's all connected. Protecting this one creature, it means protecting a whole lot more.
Okay, so we need to protect the Olm, but what's threatening it in the first place?
That's a big question, and it's a little complicated. It's a mix of things.
Like what?
Pollution is a big one, obviously.
Yeah, that makes sense. But what kind of pollution?
Industrial waste, pesticides from agriculture, even sewage from cities.
Oh, wow. So it's like our actions on the surface, they directly impact this underground world.
Exactly. And urbanization is a problem, too. As cities grow, they use more water, and that can affect the water levels in the caves.
So it's not just what's in the water, but also how much water there is.
And then there's climate change. That's a whole other layer of complexity.
How does climate change affect the Olm?
It's messing with everything. Changing rainfall patterns, water temperatures, even small changes can disrupt that delicate balance the Olm needs to survive.
It's a lot for a creature that's so adapted to a stable environment.
It really is. But there is some hope. There are people working hard to protect the Olm.
That's good to hear. What kind of things are they doing?
Well, there's the Akacan Caves in Slovenia. They're a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
That's pretty prestigious.
It is. It means those caves have a higher level of protection, and it raises awareness about the Olm and other species that live there.
Makes sense. So protected areas are part of the solution.
Definitely. And there are also organizations doing research on the Olm, trying to understand how it's affected by pollution and climate change.
And hopefully finding ways to help it survive.
Exactly. And they're working with local communities, too, to reduce pollution and promote sustainable practices.
So it's not just scientists and labs. It's about involving the people who live near these caves.
Exactly. It's about getting everyone on board. Because, individual actions can make a difference, too.
So what can regular people do, even if they don't live near the caves?
Well, we can all be mindful of our water usage. and the chemicals we use, like pesticides and cleaning products.
So it's about being more aware of our impact on the environment, even if we don't see that impact directly.
Exactly. Every little bit helps. And if you're really passionate about the Olm, you can always support organizations that are working to protect them.
Good point. It sounds like there's a lot going on to try and save the Olm. It's not just about the creature itself, but about protecting the whole ecosystem.
Absolutely.
Uh,
The Olm is a fascinating creature in its own right, but it's also a symbol of something much bigger.
right. It's a reminder that everything's connected and that we all have a role to play in protecting the planet.
Well said.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, the Olm's appearance, its adaptations, its role in the ecosystem. But there's one more thing I want to explore.
Okay, what's that?
Neoteny. It's a pretty unique aspect of the Olm's biology that I think deserves its own deep dive.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Neoteny. It's a pretty amazing phenomenon.
It is. It basically means that the Olm it retains some of its juvenile characteristics throughout its life.
It's like they never fully grow up.
And it plays a crucial role in their whole life cycle, especially their reproduction.
Yeah, definitely.
So, are you ready to unravel the mysteries of neoteny?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Okay, so neoteny. It sounds kind of sci-fi, but it's a real thing, and it's key to the Olm's whole story.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Basically, it means holding on to those juvenile traits, even as an adult.
Like never fully growing up, is that what you mean?
Exactly. Think about like a typical amphibian. You've got the tadpole stage, all gills and water breathing, and then they morph, right? Lose the gills, develop lungs, head onto land.
Right, the classic frog life cycle.
Yeah.
But the Olm doesn't do that.
Nope. It skips that whole land-dwelling part, keeps those external gills, keeps breathing underwater.
Forever, so it's like a permanent tadpole?
Well, not exactly a tadpole, but you get
Oh.
the idea.
Yeah.
It's adapted to life in water, and that's where it stays, gills and all.
Makes sense considering it lives in those caves. So are there any other examples of, what's he called, neoteny in other animals?
Yeah, actually, the axolotl's a good one. It's a type of salamander, lives in Mexico.
Oh, I think I've seen pictures. They're kind of cute in a weird way.
They are kind of cute, and they do the same thing. Keep their gills, stay in the water their whole lives.
Huh. So it's not just an Olm thing?
Nope. It's an adaptation that pops up where it makes sense, evolutionarily speaking. Like for the axolotl, their lake habitats are pretty stable. No real need to go through the whole land-dwelling phase.
So sometimes not changing is the best strategy.
Right. Staying young in this case.
Okay, but back to the Olm. How does this neoteny thing affect their whole life cycle?
It's all connected. Remember we talked about how slow they grow, how they don't reproduce very often?
Yeah, it's like they're taking their sweet time with everything.
Exactly. And that's all part of a strategy that's, well, it's perfectly suited for those cases. Limited resources, very stable environment, no need to rush.
Makes sense. So it's like being neotenous, it allows them to live longer, reproduce less often. Is that right?
You got it. It all fits together.
Okay, so what about the actual reproduction? How does that work?
Well, females lay eggs, but only every 6 to 12 years, and not a lot of them.
Wow. So every batch of eggs is precious.
Definitely. And they protect those eggs, lay them in hidden spots, under rocks and crevices, keeps them safe.
So the Olm mom is very careful.
Absolutely. Every offspring counts.
Yeah.
And then, well, when the eggs hatch, you've got larvae.
Okay, so tiny baby Olms?
Tiny and with gills, of course.
Makes sense. So they look like mini versions of the adults.
Pretty much. And as they grow, they just keep those larval features.
Yeah.
No big transformation into, a land-based form.
So they just slowly mature while staying in that larval state. Fascinating.
It really is a unique life cycle for a unique creature.
It is. And it makes you wonder what other mysteries are hidden down there in those caves.
Right. The Olm is just one example of the amazing diversity of life, even in the most unexpected places.
Definitely makes you appreciate the power of evolution to create these incredibly adapted creatures. But speaking of adaptations, there's one more we haven't touched on.
Okay, what's that?
The Olm's incredible efficiency. Remember we talked about how they can survive for years without food?
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's mind-boggling, really.
It is. So let's delve into that. How do they manage to pull that off? It is. So let's delve into that. How do they manage to pull that off?
Well, it all comes down to their metabolism. It's incredibly slow.